Welcome to the ITSP Magazine Podcast Network. You are about to listen to the Soulful CXO podcast with Dr. Rebecca Wynn. These conversations focus on the intersection of technology, business, and humanity, exploring how these three areas impact each other. Dr. Wynn interviews guests, including business leaders, entrepreneurs, and experts in various fields, to share insights and experiences on cybersecurity, risk management, and leadership. The podcast aims to provide a fresh perspective on how technology can be leveraged to create positive change in the world. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Soulful CXO. I'm your host, Dr. Rebecca Wynn. We are pleased to have with us today Jason Elrod, Chief Information Security Officer for MultiCare Health System. Previous roles include Head of Security and Chief Security Architect at Stutter Health for 10 years, where he and I first met. Welcome to the show.
It's been a hot minute. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Jason's background is really fascinating. You have programming, you went to Harvard. Can you walk us through your career and how you got to be the wonderful Jason today?
That's a loaded question right there for sure. I will take the way back machine on this one. I can say I wrote my first computer program in 1979 because my father at the time was a programmer for the Department of Justice, and he had all these fun things that had lights on them and bebops and fingers and things. So I just had to get involved with that. It goes way back. But interesting is early career, I didn't want anything to do with technology. I did it. I thought, yes, something you did. It was a hobby, fun, but I wanted to do things with people, be more involved and be involved in the people relationship aspect of it. Initially, I didn't want to do technology. I just had it. It was a given. But eventually I found that those are the jobs that I always tended to land in because it was a very unique skill set, especially back when, I would say mid-'80s, when I first became a professional technologist. I've been doing IT for over 35 years, I guess is where it's at. And for 30 of that or so, it's been in IT leadership roles. And the last 25 or so have been specifically focused on security. And a lot of that was out of desperation instead of inspiration initially. But now I find that it's just, it fits. I love, it matches my defender mindset. I can get in there and apply my skills as a humanistic nerd, provide value, protect, and assist in the world. It's a fantastic, dynamic industry. So I really appreciate it.
Could you talk a little bit more about how you can start this career and then go ahead and get your degree?
So you did mention the Harvard thing, but I'll have to go back. I didn't have a college degree through most of my career. I got my bachelor's degree in 2016. Then I went on to Harvard to get my master's degree. I was a security leader for a long time without having the paper to back it up. People need to realize most barriers in careers or in life are artificial. We make them up. Yes, some jobs you can say, thou shalt have a medical degree to be a doctor. Thou shalt have a law degree. But outside those very specific, I would say, niche talent profiles, we're often our own worst enemies. We get in way of ourselves and say, I can't do X, Y, or Z until A, B, or C is done. And when you get beyond that, there's nothing that can stop you. A lot of ways people admire the problem of I don't have a degree or this experience or that experience. A lot of times I just say, noted. And what can you do now? So use that to motivate you, to get you in the space. Our success is based on our habits, what we do daily, and what we think we're capable of. When we expand that and we dive into it, I don't think there's any limit really to what anybody can do. A lot of people thought I had a college degree, but never knew it that I didn't until at one point I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to use the educational reimbursement. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I think I'm going to get a degree. And they're like, what? You don't have one? And I think that's important. Believe in yourself and just get after it. It's been an interesting ride.
So you talked about starting out and then getting into leadership. How did that progression go? Where did you start? And then did you have a mentor or a sponsor who said, hey, here's a job opening. I think you'd be good at it. How did you go through that to even go from being a worker bee to leadership, especially without, like you said, without having a degree?
I think I mentioned doing IT for a long time, but I didn't really want to initially. I wanted to connect with people. That's key. Folks who are attracted to STEM careers tend to want to do things that are more technical, black and white, math, programming. It's either working or it's not. People are not that way. It's always a gray area. There's between an analog and a digital world. And because I was so interested in actually wanting to connect with people, the people side of it, and had the technology skill, it was a fortuitous convergence. They'd say, hey, we've got these network engineers, we've got this team of programs, we've got this people, and we have no idea what they're saying. Nobody's fluent in nerd. I need somebody who can translate between nerd and English. And even better, if you can go nerd English and business, have I got a job for you? And so it was that ability to be that Rosetta Stone, I think, in a lot of ways, to communicate both with the folks that were more analytical, more black and white, more in the technical world, with the folks who weren't necessarily, that really gave me my first opportunity in there. So embracing both sides of those equations, the EQ with the IQ, which I think is really what is needed. So if you've got a lot of EQ and you've got some folks that you've got to deal with that are very IQ centric, school up on that. But vice versa. If you're in a very sort of IQ, I would say centric sort of world or job space and want to lead, learn it. Learn the human component, the analog component of it. And that's what served me well. And then I had some opportunities in it because what would happen is I would be with the IT team. They'd say, tell these people this because they're not understanding. And I'd go tell them what they were saying. And they go tell them, this is what we're saying. And I go back and tell them this is what they're saying. And in a lot of ways, that really is your job as a leader, isn't it? Like, how do you translate the wants, the needs between your stakeholders on both sides of that equation? I was very lucky. I do believe luck is when opportunity meets preparedness and that we make it ourselves. Again, didn't have a degree, didn't really have that leadership intent necessarily, but I really did want to have that connection. And that was the probably single most impactful thing that launched me into leadership. Because I literally quit 3 leadership jobs so I could go be an individual contributor in 3 different jobs. Within 6 months of every job that I joined as an individual contributor, I ended up being a supervisor or manager in that role for the same exact reason.
Now, one of the challenges that I know that people seem to have a love for cybersecurity don't innately have the background on paper to be able to get through the door. How do I get through the door? How do I get past HR and other people like that so I can at least have an audience with the person so I can show them my skill sets? How do you work through that when you're trying to hire people or mentor people?
That's a good question. A couple of ways. One is the candidate side and one is the hiring manager side. I'll start with the hiring manager. It's my job to go to my HR partners, the recruiters, and express, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And this is what I mean when I say this is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for necessarily that degree. I'm not, because it'd be ironic to require one when I didn't have one for a long period of my career. I'm interested in the personality of the folks and their ability to walk the talk. Can you leap logical levels? Can you describe, hey, here's the solution. Here's how I would design it, implement it, operate it, support it. This is how I would take that solution. This is the capabilities it provides, which leads to how it would support strategies or visions or goals in the organization. So really working closely with your recruiter to understand what all those things mean. Say, hey, I'm looking for somebody that understands this big picture and has these atomic skills, sort of these detailed skills. They need to be a forensic examiner, be able to do SOC, they need to be able to work in an instant response, they need to be able to do vulnerability management. Be specific about that. Very point skills. But the fact is, I want to get somebody who's motivated to do it and understands the bigger picture, and then we scale into it. It's my responsibility. I think it's the responsibility of every hiring manager in cyber to do that. Make sure the people you're working with understand what you're looking for and not just CISSPs and 5 years experience for an intro role. It's impossible. Give them hints like, when I say this means this to me. Words mean things, and these are what they mean to me for these requirements. 1, there's responsibility to the hiring manager. So 2, I love cyber. I want to get involved. I'm going to encourage everybody to do that. It's very dynamic and it's very interesting, but I'll also say it can also be a very exhausting career. It doesn't stop. How do you get into that? Network with folks, talk with people, connect, apply for every job, do internships, get a mentor, a network, get that referral. Maybe in your current organization, they don't have a security function. Step out of your box and provide more value in that space. The more value you provide, the easier it is to have that title of cybersecurity analyst, incident response, pen tester. Prove you can do it. Not just you have the skill set, but that you can provide value with the skill set. Networking, providing value, and don't stop.
One of the things that you mentioned, resiliency. Today, we see a lot of people in technology, other fields too, burning out, finding ourselves not resilient. And then we end up having to take a career break for a long period of time just because really we're depleted. How do you keep yourself from being depleted?
Gosh, yeah, that enforced sabbatical. That happens. So that's a good point. Paid time off. Take time off. And I think a lot of people say, if you got vacation, take vacation. It's a very American thing to just work. And by the time you retire or leave a particular job, all of a sudden you've got 200, 300 plus PTO hours that you never took, but you're now burned out and you now are leaving maybe a job that you could have been a longer term success at, but you've got a toxic relationship with the amount of work you put into it and dedication you put into it and whatever that is. And you got burnout. You know what? Catch burnout as soon as you can. Stop it. Take PTO. Take a moment. Take a moment for yourself because you need to be at 100% if you're going to give 100%. And I think that's a nuance there. If you say, hey, show up every day, give 100%. If you don't have 100% of your batteries, let's say you're at 80%, 75%, guess what 100% is? 100% of 75% is 75%.
I thought you didn't do math.
I've got people for that. But the point being, if you're not fully charged, you're not going to be able to give a full charge. So go do it. If you really want to be successful, you really want to go to that next level, take time for yourself because that's part of it. So I think that's a nuance people live like, I just drive. And if you your batteries slowly go down from 99 to 98 to 97, you just drive every day to 96, 92 to 90 to 80. You drive. By the time you get around that 75% level and you were used to producing results at 100% or maybe 90%, but now you can't because your level is at 100% but used at 75%. So you start to burn out because you can't even achieve what you know you've achieved before. Solution? Take time. Take your PTO. Do it. There's only so many ways I can say it. It's just do it.
I've been on where I've taken PTO and then it's nonstop emails, calls, and stuff like that. Ends up starting to be today and being down for my career, super red flags. Because if you don't realize that when I say I need to take PTO, it means I should have taken PTO probably 6 months ago.
Wait.
And that's definitely, I tell people, a danger zone. And I try to remember that for my people, saying, you know what, if you don't get a phone call directly from me, you know what? There's nothing on fire. And if there was something on fire, obviously on PTO, you can help. Unless, do you find that is, you have to be the owner of that as well too, or it just gets run over?
People will take whatever they can. And it's not because people are bad. Everybody's busy. So the more you're willing to give, the more people will take. And if it's 100% all the time, 100% of the time, you're not going to have any time because somebody else will take it. So you're the writer of your story. And if you're not the hero or heroine of that story, you're a bit player in somebody else's story. So it's incumbent on you to be the author of your life. And in a lot of ways, that's a good example. Hey, you know what? I'm taking lunch. Text me if it's an emergency. My phone is off. How do you text me? Good luck. Find somebody who knows where I am. Text them. They can come get me. You have to have those key constraints in place. You have to set those barriers up so that you know that when you get too close to them, or that you're bouncing against them, careening against your own barriers, that it's time to take a step back, slow down a little bit. 1,440. That's how many minutes are in a day. Nobody gets more. Nobody gets less. You can't beg, borrow, steal, save. You can't put some on a credit card. That's it. 1,440. It's how you use it every day that determines your results. The prioritization, the focus. And there's no difference between me and the CEO, the leader of a country. We all have the same amount of time.
Jason, unfortunately, our time has totally flown by.
Hey, thanks. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. Always awesome to talk to you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Jason.
Ditto.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Soulful CXO podcast with Dr. Rebecca Wynn, part of the ITSP Magazine podcast network. If you learned something new and this conversation made you think, then add this show to your favorite podcast player. Subscribe to the ITSP Magazine YouTube channel and share the ITSP Magazine podcast network with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to connect your brand to our conversations and our audience, visit itspmagazine.com to learn how to sponsor one or more of our shows. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey.